We started with factories, moved on to families, and now
It's time for farmers, so let's drink some farmer tea. Hi guys, this is Gabriele from Nannuoshan.
And this is Sigi, and we both share the pleasure of drinking and discovering genuine farm tea.
And that's very much true. And today we're going to share with you some farmer tea, some Sheng Pu'er farmer tea. Most of you, and Sigi for sure, know about the Pu'er project, the Nannuoshan Pu'er project. And in the past months, Sigi, myself, and also some external participants in the videos have shared with you the first cakes of the Pu'er project. Is by far not the end. And as you know, we have actually shared with you two types of cakes, right? We can say we had sometime kind of very large tea factories. Can we make some examples here?
Like Changtai, like the CNNP beans.
Yes, also, yeah. And so very large, big names, large factory that everyone knows if it is into Pu'er. And then we had kind of family-driven businesses, so where you have a single person or just a family that run a factory. So we've basically excluded from this Pu'er project everything that is in between a family and a very large factory. So all those medium-sized factories that try actually to push on quantity without really making it true in a way. And there is also a third group of producers that we want to address in the Pu'er project, and is farmers. And in this case, it's really just the Pu'er farmers that process the leaves into Mao Cha and they don't bring it to the factory for pressing into cake. In most cases, they even don't press that themselves. Sometimes they do with stones. And they just sell the Mao Cha directly to us. And what we have also to say that the previous cakes that we had usually were relatively old, so between 10 and 20 years old, in some cases even older than 20. And with a few exceptions that, like for example, you did a video about, what was that?
Banshan and Dong Banshan.
Yeah, Banshan, so the west and east Banshan mountain, just because they were geographically close to each other, and we thought it makes sense to taste them together, even though they were relatively young, 2012, 2013. But without, those few exceptions, all the teas were relatively old. Now, when you go to farmers, you can't really get old teas because they sell it out relatively quickly. So what we have today is some codes, Sigi. So this is T288. We have 86 and 87. And these are actually three teas from two different places. So on my side here, the 87 and 88 come from one tea garden, just two different years. And on your side is another garden.
Yep.
So I would say older to youngest. So we removed the youngest one. That is a tea actually that Brian and I have drunk recently in another tea in which we compared green tea with Sheng Pu'er in taste. So these, for now, we just put it aside. And we are going to drink these two teas.
Yep.
So how much do you usually put in such guy ones?
So I estimate these to be around 100 milliliters, which means I use around 5 grams.
5 grams. So we could go by feeling.
It's always so difficult with Mao Cha, isn't it? Because it takes up so much space compared to when you have a compressed Bing. What does yours smell like?
It's extremely intense. So it's very, very aromatic and wild. By the way, all trees are wild teas. And they're actually gushu, from all the tea trees. Let's switch.
Okay. Oh,
yeah, that's smoother.
Yeah, definitely. This one is almost a bit aggressive, I'd say.
And even the leaves are smoother in a way. We'll show them in a second. So yeah, let's put them directly in the guy one. I just go, a little bit by feeling.
I'm just going to try to copy you because I have no sense.
Yeah, yours takes less volume than mine because those are really rough leaves. So I think that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think, yeah, that's good. I'll take just a tiny bit more because I have the
that's
feeling
true.
that
Mine look a bit more dense than yours.
Yes. So I keep here 287, 286, and we will reveal shortly about the numbers. So these, yeah, we can show them actually here to the camera, and these are brighter in color. Is more.
Do we want to show them there, maybe? Do we want to show them over there, maybe?
Yeah. Here they are, and this is a bit lighter in color.
Yep.
This is kind of darker, very rough leaves.
Yeah, this one is like almost more like olive green in a way.
Yeah.
Yours, and this one is...
Wow, so intense.
Yeah, here's a good leaf to look at. Kind of like this.
Let's give it a rinse. Take over. The water is already hot. Here you go.
Thank you. Oh, I should have prepared 2 waste bowls.
Oh, yeah. The fact is that, guys, we are both left-handed. So usually when one is right-handed and the other is left-handed, it's quite convenient.
Yep.
But yeah, no luck there. I just go directly in the waste. We have already warmed up a little bit the pitcher because we cleaned them before. So they're not too cold. They're already a little bit warm.
Let's give this another smell.
It's so difficult to describe this smell because it's so intense and it doesn't remind me anything. It's very wild, oily.
This one is, I'd say, quite fruity overall. This one is...
There is no hint of smokes in both.
Yep.
Which is something I usually check when I drink farmer tea, because farmer tend to be a bit rough. So yeah, let's speak about that actually. How would you expect a farmer tea to taste? Like, so if you take a cake from a factory, and of course there are very big differences, right? But just a cake from a factory and a cake from a farmer, which is your experience?
It's kind of hard to say because I think when you have a big factory, some of the differences in processing from each farmer to another one can sort of be mitigated because these are massive quantities of leaves, and
they rarely come from a single garden. They just are kind of blends, we can say.
And on the other hand, if you have teas from individual farmers, that processing plays a much larger role. So a lot of the taste of this tea is going to come down to how that individual farmer processed their tea. And I think the point you mentioned about smoke is quite interesting because if I remember correctly, a lot of these farmers don't have their own sort of processing facilities or dedicated processing spaces. So at least I've heard that some of the smoke can come from them processing their tea in the same place where they cook.
But that's, I'm not so sure about that because the fact is that actually Mao Cha is at the end always done by farmers. Almost, yeah. There is an exception, I would say, but many large factories go to farmers to buy their leaves. But maybe they go in a town and they buy from several different farmers and they mix all leaves together. Now, there are also factories, and it's more the medium-sized factories, but not only, also large factories that own gardens. Yeah, also the Fenchin factory owns large quantities of garden. They are famous for having large organic, actually, cultivation. And then they have their own co-worker that pick up the leaves. But some other factory, also Dai, they are famous for knowing farmers, going out, usually at the end of the season when it is cheaper, but they know where to go and take directly from the farmer. So even small farmers that have, let's say, a single family in a single house, like the first place actually I've been in 2010 for doing tea, they had a wooden house where they were living, and the kitchen and so on and sleeping. And then they had like a dépendance, an house next door where they had some storage of stuff, also made of wood, and where the processing room. And in that process, they even had, some electric equipment. So it was nowadays, no, you don't have to do everything by hand.
Yeah.
So, for example, they were using even a tumbler for warming up the leaves. Now, what happens? That it doesn't matter if you use a tumbler or you use a hot wok. In that case, it's usually run with fire, with wooden fire. It's eaten up, and then you had the tumbler that is pretty massive, like 3-4 meters long, and the fire is done right behind the wooden wall. And then you have a lot of smoke that come through the holes in the walls between the wooden pieces, and inside you have this smoke that is all around, and that's where you get that smoke taste. So it's really a smoke from that. Although you're right, at that time at least they were still cooking in the kitchen on open fire. Yeah. So let's try. Shall we both try with the same? I would start with yours because it is
because it's older.
Not only, but the taste is smoother. So I thought this one, maybe a little bit more.
Makes sense.
We transformed the guy one into a picture today. Actually, both guy one and picture are from Liu Shisan, an artist. Liu Shisan is a nickname. It means 613, and is an artist from which we source mainly guy one and picture, and we will have soon some new sets, guy one and picture from him coming out.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm gonna have to look out for those because I really like these two.
You shall tell how did you get those actually?
Yes, there's a funny story about that. Should I tell it now?
Yeah, why not?
Sure. While we're enjoying this tea, and I'm spilling it all over myself. So, for those of you that remember, back in, I think, 2019, Nannuoshan hosted a sort of tea weekend in the Alps.
Not far from here.
Yeah, it was only like an hour's drive for me, maybe.
Yeah, we are at Sigi place. If you have noticed the setup, I don't play guitar, but Sigi does. Yeah, so we were in the Alps, and actually we had a lot of boxes that we received from China, and you remember a lot of stuff was broken.
Yeah, sadly. And for instance, I'm not sure if you can see it in the camera, but there's like a bit missing here and there. And
here also.
Instead of throwing these things out, because look at them, they're beautiful. Like, why would you throw something like this away when you can just use it? So that's kind of what I decided to do.
That's the case. I have to say, this year we ordered just 2 type of sets, 9 pieces each, so just 9 sets, and they all arrived whole. We at that time we had 25 picture, only 5 made it unbroken.
Oh, and that many?
Wow. Yeah. In fact, they were sold out a long time ago. We should speak about the taste. Let's speak about the taste, then we say which tea actually we are drinking. So what? How would you describe them?
So, I think the first thing I noticed was that the first tea, this Mr. T286 here, was a bit more round overall in appearance, and I'd say it was a touch more viscous than the first one. Those are just the first things I noticed in terms of
which one is more viscous?
I'd say this one. What's your impression?
My impression is that that one has somehow a stronger body. Maybe it's how you describe the viscosity. And this one is this aggressive aroma. Maybe aggressive sounds negative. Actually, I like it. It's not in a negative way, but it's fairly strong. Yeah. And unique in a way. It's really hard to describe. I cannot say if it is floral, nutty, fruity. It's just wild in a way.
It's kind of hard to judge aftertaste because we drank those two in quick succession. But I'd say, or at least like. I'd say this one leaves you with a fairly strong fruity aftertaste, but the liquor itself doesn't actually taste particularly fruity. It is, however, a very bright tea. That's how I'd describe it.
Yeah. This is, in a way, a little bit flatter in taste. Yeah, I want to. Yeah, so what are we drinking actually? So let's start revealing the year. So the one I'm drinking here on my side is Harvest 2017. And what about your?
Mine was harvested in 2014.
Okay, 3 years difference. We have to say that Pu'er changes most at the beginning and less over the years. And we have the other one here, same garden, let's say, although it's, not really a garden, but I mean same place, is from 2020. So we have 17 and 20 and 14. So they are 3 years, 3 years, 3 years. And I think that the 17 and the 14 should be closer in type of aging than having a very fresh that is only 1 year old.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that we put aside. What we have to say though is that we have kind of little quantity of these two, in particular of this one, and we have larger quantity of the 2020. And on top of that, the 2020 of course will be also relatively cheaper than the 2017. So you might also consider basically aging that one because it comes from the same tree and from the same farmer. Yeah.
Interesting.
What are we doing? Oh, we are drinking the stronger now.
I'm not sure what it is, but right now from the liquor I am getting, like, it's not really smoke, but I sometimes get that in younger Pu'er where you sort of get the impression of it almost being smoky, but
spicy. Spicy.
Yeah, more like spice probably.
It reminds me, if I have to make an association, Indian food. It's I think it's a good match actually for Indian food somehow. It's
definitely like the kinds of notes I sometimes get in younger Pu'er, and something that I've actually found in a couple of teas from Nannuoshan, the mountain, in the past, is a particular spice note that's very reminiscent of like the kind of spices you'd find in Indian dishes, sort of like cardamom.
That's the word I had in mind. I mean, I didn't say that, but after you, I would have said it reminds me a little bit of cardamom. So that's not too aggressive, but very, very present.
Yeah,
cardamom you can always recognize like on the spot. Let's see the other one. We can use actually the crack as a spout.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not getting this sort of spice impression from the smell on this one.
No, not at all.
This one does have a slight bit of bitterness creeping up now.
More. The other one, not at all. Yeah, I didn't think of bitterness before.
Yeah, but this one like has some lingering bitterness to it.
Yeah, nothing too aggressive, but it's there already at the second steep. Yeah.
It's like that. Oh yeah, we haven't talked about the area.
Not yet. So, where is your tea coming from?
Okay, because that's something I wanted to mention. This tea is from Wuliang, which is a place in Pu'er Prefecture. And those of you that are interested in geography a bit, so there are, I think, 2 large mountain ranges in Pu'er Prefecture that sort of go from north to south that are almost parallel to each other.
Super hot.
The one to the east is Ailau, and the one that's more westwards is Wuliang. Wuliang is... Both Wuliang and Ailau actually are areas that are quite high in elevation. They can go up to about 3,000 meters.
Even more, actually. Yeah, even slightly above. Wow. Slightly above. Doesn't mean, that you have tea at 3,200, 3,400 meters, but the mountains range is very high, yeah. Indeed.
And then, if you keep moving westwards from Wuliang, you cross the border into Linshan.
Yeah. The other so are 2 prefectures, Pu'er Prefecture and Linshan Prefecture. Linshan being west of Pu'er. And basically, if you start from Wuliang, you move on towards the west and you end up in Linshan. And one of the first towns or villages, let's say, that are on the other side is Xiangzhuqing, which is where this tea and this tea come from. So they come from two different prefectures, but they are not air distance, they are not too far. But we don't know exactly, maybe 50, maybe 100 kilometers, which on a scale like Yunnan, that is huge, is not that much.
Yeah.
But we have two very different character here of taste. And honestly, it's not that by taste them, I could really say which is older.
Yeah, it's hard to distinguish because, like, this one still has a fair degree of bitterness, and I think this specific type of bitterness, because that's what I was going to say about Wuliang. I've had some tea from there before, and it sort of showcased a comparable type of bitterness to this one. Like, there are a few different sort of bitter profiles that I distinguish, which are like a sort of herbal bitterness, a citrus pith bitterness, dark chocolate bitterness, and the kind of like antibiotic pill bitterness, the one that's like really acrid. And this one goes in the same direction as another tea from Wuliang I had, which has more of that like citrus pith type bitterness.
And now it's even more bitter. Even bitter, more bitter. And it's actually, I steeped them quite long the third time because I was just speaking, and as I usually do, I keep on forgetting my brew.
That's some astringency to this now as well.
Then to dry out the palate, if you are unsure about the difference between bitterness and astringency, there is a great video done by Nannuoshan, very short, that speaks about that.
Yeah, I do highly recommend watching that video. It's very concise and easy to understand. I did, yeah. And I sort of went into it with obviously my own sort of opinion about what bitterness and astringency are, and it agreed with my views, so obviously I'd recommend it.
Wow, the picture is so kräutig in German.
Oh, yeah.
It's so spicy.
Herbaceous.
I mean, when you say the word spicy in English, it can be spicy from spices, or sometimes you say spicy when something is just hot. While in German you have different words. You say Kräuter is more vegetal from spices.
Yep.
And if it's hot, it's just scharf. And that's how I would describe this tea. It's very kräutig.
Herbaceous is one word.
Herbaceous, yeah. Although with herbs, when you say herbaceous, you don't know exactly which herbs are you referring to.
Yeah, like when I think of herbaceous, I think of things like maybe rosemary, thyme, oregano, that kind of stuff. Sage,
but you know that there is pretty much all of that. Like if you say oregano and thyme while I'm drinking, I have that in even some, how to say that word? Is ginepro in Italian? Juniper? Juniper, some juniper. How to say that in German?
I have no idea. I just know it's juniper because I think that's a common ingredient in gin.
It is, yes. Yeah, I had some gin with juniper. All right, you know what? I mean, that's just the start of these two teas, but what I'm really curious at this point, although I already had this tea and I don't remember it very much, I would like to brew it.
Okay.
Just to try it out. Now we are not prepared for that. I don't know if you have another guy one.
I have a 50 milliliter guy one. But
shall we use an Ishing? Wait, sure. I can grab it. It's here.
You can definitely do that. Maybe the
one small in the.
You could also take the Hongni one here in the middle. Yeah, that one should be good, I think.
Okay. At Sigi, I don't have to ask which Ishing he uses for which tea, because I know, Sigi, you drink most of the time Sheng Pu'er.
Yeah.
So probably all those Ishing that are there are actually for Sheng Pu'er.
100% correct.
Like if you come to my place, you really have to put the question, because I have only one Ishing that I use for Sheng Pu'er. But yeah, not an Ishing
place. I'm gonna hand this over to you now.
Okay, shall I? I emptied.
Yeah, I heated it up already.
Yeah, let's try.
Good to go here.
Try to smell it actually, how it is. 2020.
Oh yeah. So
Xiangzhuqing.
Before I start smelling this, maybe one quick word on expectations. none of these two teas were particularly like green or vegetal, sort of this green bean kind of taste. I'd expect more of that here in this 2020
Being
tea.
so fresh.
Because, yeah, it's quite fresh, and in my experience, the first thing that changes during the first couple of years of aging in a pu'er tea is that they lose that particular aspect. So, with this one being from last year, I'd expect it to, still have some of that. This one, interestingly enough, this one smells less aggressive than the 2017 one, but that might just be because it has some of these really intense, like, fruity notes. Ooh, that smells very nice, though. I'm looking forward
Was
to
this
this.
handmade?
I don't think it's fully handmade. It's maybe half handmade, but I'm not entirely sure either.
So that's the older one.
Yep.
This smells. This is softer.
Yeah.
So they look very similar in the leaves. Actually, extremely similar.
Yep.
At least in the pouch. Okay, we said the Ishin. All right.
Yeah. Wait. Let's
do that. It's a bit tricky because it's an Ishin with a small opening. Now I will do a mess. I know.
That's totally fine. We can clean up afterwards.
And very, very similar, dark color, so you can really tell these are actually the same tea.
Wait, let me grab a leaf and show the camera here real quick.
Yeah, let's try.
Here's one for you all.
Yeah, probably the camera is focusing on us, so I'll do something. Wait, we can do like
maybe
that.
if you
yeah,
put your hand behind it.
I can put my hand and hold on. This is kind of tricky.
Ah, that's smart.
I don't know if that works. I mean, it's just a try. You might not see anything, but
yeah, we're doing what we can.
do what we can. Oh Jesus, it's.
Do you maybe want to like half fill it, put in some water to make space, and then...
Yeah. So that's why I suggest having pot with a large opening for pu'er, especially for loose pu'er.
I've always wanted one of these pots where basically like the lid is the entire upper part of the pot.
Like my Sheng Pu'er teapot actually, which is pretty much like that. That's why I love it. And somehow I like good yellow clay with so Duanni.
I do need to get a better Duanni pot at some point. This one is
I have one I could suggest you. No, really, it's really good. I bought it for. I'll tell you later. It's actually on the website when we have a few. Okay.
Alright, then I'm gonna fill this up completely.
I think I can give Sigi a discount since he's doing so many videos for Nannuoshan.
Just to be safe, I'm gonna refill and reboil the water a little bit because
let's
we are drinking a lot here.
Let's do that.
Let's see. Okay, that should be enough.
Another thing that you can expect. That's a wash. Yeah, let's wash. Another thing that you can expect from a farmer team is certainly a more pronounced character because it's always like a single origin tea. But what I experience also many times is somehow a more pronounced bitterness. It doesn't have to be. For example, in this case, one is not bitter, but from a specific region.
Yep.
Maybe just because when you mix different gardens, they will not be all very bitter, so you tend to compensate a little bit. But when you take a tea from a single place, if it is particular bitter, you have all the bitterness in there. Yeah.
Yep.
So some experiences I had was like extremely bitter. Yeah.
Have you ever had pu'er tea that was like basically directly after harvesting and processing?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What's that one like?
I processed it myself and drank it. And the one that we processed was very bitter. It was on Nannuoshan, and was extremely so. And it doesn't have to be, Nannuoshan does not have to be a bitter tea, but that one was August, so it was pretty much late in the summer. I mean, we're speaking about southern Yunnan. There they start harvesting in February, and so end of August, and I'm pretty sure it's also because of the late harvest. that you get more bitterness. So those plants have seen a lot of sun.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
That is one of the things I want to do at some point. Just
Yeah, I really look forward to to China opening up the frontier, the borders, and being able to travel again. We will certainly do also another tea tour. And actually, those that participated to the first tea tour, they asked for a second one to Yunnan. So that's a bit more difficult to organize. So let's see. But yeah, will take some time. But we definitely would like to offer a tea tour to which everyone can participate to Yunnan.
Cool.
Let us know in the comment below if you would come. Let's say we do somewhere maybe in spring, late spring, we go to Yunnan for let's say 10 days and it cost let's say it would cost 3,000 euro, the whole thing, including the flight. Would you come over with us to do pu'er production, visit farmers? Shall we?
Yeah, I think we're ready to go.
Okay, so let's try this Xiangzhuqing 2020. Does it fit?
It should kind of fit.
Oh yeah. But okay. It's a bit lighter in color.
Yep.
Instantly see that than the previous one. It has a different profile than the other one. I have some honey here. Kind of sweeter.
Yeah.
It's sweeter.
Yeah. Definitely sweeter.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's not matching. The leaves look very similar, and from that you can definitely say that they may come really from the same place as we know, but the taste profile is different, and that can be many things. It can be 3 years later, different harvest, different climate. They are all trees, so the tree itself it's not that the plant were smaller and then after 3 years they changed so much. They didn't change that much, but it can be also different time in the year. And also different processing. It's sometimes you think there are farmers, but not many, that are very meticulous and really write down and process the tea more or less in the same way. But nonetheless, you always have to adapt to the condition, right? Maybe there was a lot of moisture that morning, so you have to do the chashing a little bit longer. It's kind of you cannot really go by the instruction, let's say.
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe they might just forget it and put it a bit longer or.
I imagine it's kind of like baking bread in a way, where trying to get the exact same result when processing the tea is almost impossible, and there are so many different factors that can go into it that can change something.
Yeah, also think about, just to make an example, let's pretend that the two harvests are very similar. We pick up the tea today, and then we do the same tomorrow. So you would expect something very similar. We process in exactly the same way. Then what happens is that when you harvest the tea today, in the evening you do your chashing, you shape the leaves, and then in the next morning, it's also different with green tea that you tend to dry very fast, but in this case the next morning you dry at the sun. Classic for pu'er. So you put your leaves in the garden and you let them dry at the sun. The next day you do the same, you pick the leaves, you wait another day, in the morning you go out and it's cloudy. For example, or it's raining. Yeah, it rains in Yunnan, right? It's a subtropical climate, so of course there is a change in the leaves, and that affects the taste. The sun really affects a lot the taste, and it could be the other way around. It could be that it rains just the night before you want to harvest the leaves, and the farmers might just go out and pick the leaves anyway. So you have a different taste. So here we have two different taste profiles, and you can pretty much, I couldn't say just by taste they were really the same garden.
I would never have guessed, to be honest.
But just by looking at the leaves.
They're like, the flavor is so different. This one is... It's also not bitter at all. We had that in the other one as well. But I think the biggest differences come out in the aftertaste. In this one, although it's not much, you do have that slight sort of green flavor that isn't present in the other one.
It's fresher for sure.
Yeah.
And there is maybe some medicine notes in it. Actually, there is the taste that reminds of something that I cannot come up with. Something characteristic. I'm sure when we finish the video, then it will pop up to my mind. As I said at the beginning, in the smell, a tiny bit of honey, and on top of that, maybe of some medicines. I don't know. Cannot tell.
It's also not as spicy as the 2017 one, I'd say.
Yeah.
So, but what about this? Just a theory. The notes we're getting here, these sort of sweet, fragrant notes that this one has, most of these might be because the tea is so young, and these, what you're describing as that sort of medicinal or medicine type taste, is actually those spice notes, but they sort of appear in a different way because they're layered underneath all of these fresh flavors.
That could be, I mentioned. We have to say also that the Wuliang that was prepared by Sigi was by far less spicy than this one.
Oh yeah.
So if we take the three of them, then of course this one is closer to the other Xiangzhuqing, but it doesn't have that, how you described it before. Before we said aggressive, I would never say aggressive to
bright.
This one. Bright, I would never... But bright, this is bright.
Yeah,
it's not
this
aggressive,
one is bright,
but it's
but
bright.
not aggressive.
Yeah.
And the other one was bright and aggressive, in a way.
Yeah. So it might, and now in the second steep, actually it get a bit closer. You had, that's something that happened often also in Sheng Pu'er actually in particular, that you have that first steep that is sweeter and more floral and lighter, and then soon after with the following brews, the tea evolves very quickly.
Oh yeah.
While the other two were more consistent, like first and second brew had some bitterness growing on the Wuliang and a lot of consistency on the Wuliangshan. On the Xiangzhuqing,
Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense in a way because I'd assume that many of these like floral and fruity notes are sort of the more volatile compounds in these teas. So we'd probably expect those to steep out quicker than other flavors that might be present.
Yeah. Definitely. And which one just match more your taste? Which one do you like the most?
Oh, that's such a tough question always. It's especially difficult for me because I try to avoid thinking about like which one I like best and more try to find like individual good things about each one of them and sort of explore how they're different in relation to each other. For personal drinking, I'm not sure. Like they're all interesting in their own way, right? The Wuliang has the like citrus pith bitterness that comes out as steeps go on. The 2017 has that spice, and this one has these sort of high notes, but then also similarities to the other one underneath those.
Yeah, maybe it depends. I would say for me it would depend pretty much on the situation I'm drinking tea. So all in all, I really like this one, this 2020. Because it's balanced, it's smooth, but it's also so special in a way. So this sweet honey notes in it with a little bit of spicy on the background that I would be really curious to see how it evolves. The bitter one is something that, you would more expect him to pour, but this has really no bitterness at all. Yeah. So the other two are in a way a bit more aggressive, both of them, one with bitterness and one with spiciness. And this one is still young and smooth and nonetheless not flat at all.
Yeah, that's true. I would, however, say that this one also has a bit of astringency. Not a lot, but you do slightly feel your mouth drying out.
Okay, but not bitterness at all.
No, zero bitterness.
Okay, yes.
Just that slight drying feeling on the tongue.
Yeah, but very little, yeah.
Minimal,
maybe
absolutely minimal.
Like in champagne, sometimes you have, or nothing too dry wine that would really.
And like sort of medium wine, that kind of level. So really, it's small, especially for a young tea, because very young teas can often be quite astringent, but this one only has a tiny bit.
Oh, really, yeah. Like, okay, what we do now, I think we compare the leaves, and then let's do something like that. Let me think. So here we have, this was yours, right?
Ah, that's smart, yeah.
Yeah, I was do that. So then we have let's put them like this. So they are in order of age.
Yep.
Younger, but darker.
Yep.
And this would be a bit more difficult. As assume there is not much coming out here.
Feel free to make use of the tea tools. Maybe
yes, I do.
One of those
actually.
Will help, get them out.
Do you have tongs? Yeah, you have. So hot, the Ishing. Oh, look how interesting. Now you even see more similarity between the last two. Look how dark it is.
Oh, yeah.
Despite being so young. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it must be just the like natural leaf color of.
They could be the same tea. Yeah, that's so similar. And this is definitely much lighter in color. Also, the leaf shape is different. There are a bit smaller leaves.
I'd be willing to wager a guess that the leaves or the trees from this one might be a tiny bit younger than these.
Could be, who knows? We will never know that.
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say, but very dark olive green, and this is a bit lighter, and larger leaves both. Yeah. All right, guys, I hope you have enjoyed watching, and I hope you will enjoy drinking, of course. Maybe you have drunk along with us. You have been drinking along with us. Thank you a lot for watching. If it's the first time you watch our videos and you like it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and go ahead, give us a thumbs up to show your passion for our video and that you like them. It's just a small sign, but it kind of give us that little bit of push. Yeah, it helps. Thanks a lot for watching. Thank you, Sigi, for hosting this Pu'er session.
Thanks for bringing some wonderful tea.
And see you next time.
Goodbye.